She woke up at 6:47 in the morning to a sound she didn't expect. Silence. No alarm. No shower running in the bathroom. No sound of someone breathing in the other bed. Sarah Mitchell reached across the mattress and felt cold sheets. Her daughter Emma had slept right there, just inches away. But now, nothing. Emma? She checked the bathroom. Empty. She checked behind the curtains, checked the closet. Room 309 of the Grand Meridian Hotel was completely empty, except for her. Sarah grabbed her phone and called the front desk, and what she heard next would change everything. "I'm sorry, ma'am. Our records show a single occupancy booking for room 309. Just one guest." Sarah's voice went sharp. "That's impossible. My daughter checked in with me last night. We came from Chicago together. Her luggage is right." She turned around. The second bed was perfectly made, not slept in. No suitcase in the corner. No charger on the nightstand. No purple hair tie on the pillow. The one Emma wore every single night without fail. Nothing. It was as if her 16-year-old daughter had never existed. Detective Ray Torres arrived within the hour. He walked through room 309 slowly, taking everything in. One coffee cup on the dresser. One used towel. One set of toiletries by the sink. He walked to the manager's office. "Show me the lobby footage from last night." They watched it together. 9:47 p.m. Sarah Mitchell walking through the front entrance, pulling one suitcase, alone. Torres turned to Sarah. "Ma'am, do you have any photos of your daughter from yesterday? Anything that shows you were together?" Sarah grabbed her phone, opened the camera app. The camera roll was empty. Not just yesterday's photos. Every photo from the entire past week. Gone. She stared at the screen. Her hands started to shake. Torres pulled up Sarah's records while she sat in the lobby. 3 years ago, Sarah had been hospitalized. Severe anxiety. Panic disorder. There had been one incident. She'd called the police, convinced her neighbor was watching her family. The neighbor was an 82-year-old woman who spent her evenings watching game shows. Torres closed the file quietly. He didn't say what he was thinking. But Sarah Mitchell had worked in a hospital for 15 years. She'd seen that expression before. On doctors, on social workers, on police officers. She knew exactly what doubt looked like. But she also knew her daughter was real. And her daughter was missing. She called Emma's school. The secretary confirmed Emma had left Friday afternoon for a trip. She called Emma's phone. Disconnected. She called Emma's best friend, Jasmine. The girl paused before answering. Then she said quietly, "Miss Mitchell, Emma hasn't been in school since Thursday. She told me she was going to see her dad. She seemed excited, but also kind of scared." The words hit Sarah like ice water. Her dad, James Carter, a man Emma was legally forbidden to contact. A man Sarah had spent 3 years and 2 court hearings keeping out of their lives. A man who, the last time Sarah saw him, had been standing outside a courthouse, looking at her like someone with nothing left to lose. James Carter had once been charming, brilliant even. A man who could walk into a room and make everyone feel like the most important person there. But charm and brilliance couldn't hide what happened on a Tuesday night in November 3 years ago. Emma had been 13. She had called 911 herself. The court gave Sarah full custody, a permanent restraining order. James lost all visitation rights. After that, he lost his business, his savings, his apartment. He had lost everything. And the one thing he wanted back, he was not allowed to have. Sarah found an old tablet of Emma's at the bottom of her own bag. Emma had packed it for the trip and left it behind. She'd synced her messages to it months ago and forgotten. Sarah opened the message app. Texts between Emma and an unknown number. Dozens of them, going back 4 months. She scrolled to the very last message. Emma, I'll be there, Dad. Don't worry. I love you. Mom won't find out. Sent 2 days before the trip. Sarah showed Torres everything. Within an hour, they had James Carter's last known address, an apartment on the east side. He wasn't there, but his neighbor mentioned a woman, blonde, late 20s, who had been with him recently. She worked at a hotel downtown. Torres looked at Sarah. They both knew which hotel. The receptionist at the Grand Meridian Hotel, Nicole Webb, was not at her desk. A security guard found her in the parking garage, sitting in the passenger seat of a gray sedan. Torres approached from the rear. He tapped on the driver's side window. The man behind the wheel turned around. James Carter. Pale. Thinner than Sarah remembered. Gray at his temples now, skin that had lost its color, but unmistakably him. He looked at Torres, then past him, at Sarah standing a few feet behind. Neither of them moved. Then there was a small sound from the back seat, a 16-year-old girl pulling out her earbuds, blinking awake. Emma, alive, unhurt. A small, sleepy smile disappearing from her face the moment she saw her mother through the window. Torres moved to open the driver's side door. Emma was out of the back seat before he could reach it. She stepped between Torres and her father, looked at her mother. I asked him to do this. Sarah could not speak. Emma's voice was quiet, controlled, like she had rehearsed this. He's dying, Mom. James Carter had stage 4 pancreatic cancer, diagnosed 8 months ago. Doctors had given him 6 weeks, maybe 4. He had reached out to Emma through a friend's phone, not to take her, not to run, not to hurt anyone, just to ask for 1 week with his daughter before he ran out of time. Nicole Webb, his girlfriend for the past year, the only person who had stayed, had accessed the hotel's booking system and erased Emma's digital presence, deleted the check-in record, wiped the security camera timestamp, removed the second room booking. It bought them time. It was also a crime. James sat down on the curb. He was too tired to stand for long. He looked up at Sarah. I just wanted her to know me, he said, before it was too late. Torres looked at Sarah. This was her call. James had violated a restraining order. Nicole had tampered with hotel records, a criminal offense. Emma had lied to her mother and deliberately vanished for over 24 hours. But James Carter had 4 weeks left to live. If Sarah pressed charges, he would spend those 4 weeks in a holding cell waiting for arraignment. Emma would spend the rest of her life knowing she had helped put her dying father in handcuffs. If Sarah didn't, she was letting go of 3 years of fear. 3 years of court papers, panic attacks, and teaching her daughter how to lock the doors at night. She looked at Emma. Her daughter wasn't crying. She was standing completely still, shoulders squared, jaw tight, bracing herself, the way teenagers do when they're waiting for a punishment they didn't care of. Sarah asked Torres for a moment alone. She walked to James. He couldn't look at her at first. How long? She said. 4 weeks, maybe 6. She looked at Nicole inside the car, then back at James. She texted you first. She did. She planned part of this. She did. He finally met her eyes. I told her I didn't want to do it this way. She said it was the only way you wouldn't stop her. Sarah was quiet for a long time. Then she spoke, slowly, clearly, without anger. You don't get a week. You don't get to erase my daughter from a hotel system and make me think I was losing my mind. You don't get to override 3 years of court orders because you're dying. James closed his eyes. But Emma gets to say goodbye to her father. He opened them. 2 days. I will be present the entire time. Nicole stays away from my daughter. After those 2 days, you do not contact Emma again. Not through friends, not through letters, not through anyone. He said nothing. 2 days, she said, and then I take her home. James Carter nodded once. Torres was leaning against his car when Sarah walked back to him. She told him her decision. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, I could still arrest him, all 3 of them. I know. Tampering with hotel records, violation of a restraining order, these aren't small things. I know. But Sarah looked across the parking lot. Emma had crouched down next to her father. He was saying something. She was nodding, very slowly, her hand on his arm. 2 people who hadn't been allowed to know each other, one of them running out of time. But I'm not going to let my daughter spend the rest of her life wondering if she could have stated goodbye, Sarah said. Torres folded his notebook closed. He looked at the ground for a moment. Then the nod died once. He getting in his car. And Sarah walked back across the parking lot, not to pull her daughter away. Not yet. Just to sit beside her, in the gray morning light, next to a man she had once loved, then learned to fear, and was now watching run out of time. Some stories don't end with justice. Some end with something harder than that. Emma Mitchell spent 2 days with her father. Supervised. Quiet. One afternoon by the water. One evening watching old movies in a rented room. James Carter died 39 days later, at a hospice facility with Nicole beside him. Nicole Webb was never charged. The hotel quietly accepted her resignation. Sarah never told the full story to anyone. Not to colleagues, not to her therapist, not to the courts, just to Emma. Late one night, 6 months later, when Emma sat beside her on the couch and asked the question she had been holding onto for months. Mom, did you make the right choice? Sarah looked at her daughter for a long time. I don't know, she said, but I made the only choice I could live with. Emma nodded slowly. She didn't say anything else, and neither did Sarah, because sometimes that's enough.